Hello and welcome to 7 Days in Europe, where we look at issues in the headlines and discuss them with leading MEPs. And of course the biggest headline remains the sovereign debt crisis and whether or not the euro can be saved. To talk about that, with me first is my guest, a Greek member of the Alliance of Liberals and Democrats for Europe, Θόδωρος Σκυλακάκης. And before we go any further, in fact, do you think the euro can be saved?
Yes, of course. There is no fundamental problem of not saving the euro. The economic fundamentals of Europe and Eurozone are good, not bad. So it's just political decisions that have to be made.
OK, well, as usual, we're going to start 7 Days today with our yes-no segment, in which I pose a series of questions to which my guest can only answer yes or no. Do you feel the Sarkozy-Merkel plan has promise for saving the euro?
Yes.
What about the treaty changes? They seem to think the treaty changes are necessary, and Mr Van Rompuy doesn't. Do we need to change the treaties?
Yes.
Will it be possible to do that, given the opposition to everything at the moment in some of the countries that are most affected?
Yes.
What about it was France and Germany, after all, that broke the Stability and Growth Pact the last time. Can we trust them this time?
No.
Standard & Poor have threatened to downgrade all of the Eurozone countries. Is that worrying?
Yes and no.
Fair answer. A French professor has said that the European Parliament has done too little. Watch the train go by was his expression. Is he right?
Yes.
Can you see Greek bonds recovering within the next 3 years?
No.
Are you happy to have your country run by an ex-Goldman Sachs economist?
Wrong question.
What about Italy, also run by an ex-Goldman Sachs man? We've run out of time, I'm afraid. That's it. Very informative anyway. I like the yes-no bit too. Just a reminder, you're watching 7 Days in Europe, and my studio guest is Θόδωρος Σκυλακάκης. Looking at the plight that the euro is in at the moment, do you feel that the plan that seems to be on the table from Sarkozy and Merkel does have a chance of restoring things properly?
Not if it's not an addition in terms of some kind of guarantee for the sovereign debt all over Europe. You can never solve this crisis only by fiscal discipline. You need discipline and solidarity.
The people of, obviously, your own country, Greece, but also of Portugal, Spain, Italy, Ireland, are annoyed at the austerity measures. They feel they're picking up the tab for a mistake made by the bankers. They're not going to accept treaty changes, are they? Because presumably they'd have to be subject to referenda.
I don't presume that. If you look at the procedures, it can also go all over Europe without referendum, without any referendum. And it's different. In our case, it was not the bankers, it was the politicians that did the big damage, because it was huge amounts of money that were spent during the past 10 years, and huge debts were created. So people react for different reasons. But still, it's a very, very difficult situation, and we can only restore confidence in Greece if we restore confidence in Europe. At this moment, our economy is dropping because there is lack of confidence also in Europe.
Because even Germany is finding it quite hard to sell its bonds at the moment, partly because people can get better rates from the slightly more dangerous countries.
Yes, but I don't think there is a real problem for Germany, to be realistic. But the real problem from Germany will come because the loss of confidence all over Europe will have a huge effect on its export industry, because they are selling to everybody else. So if people stop buying because of loss of confidence in the economy, then the Germans will suffer as well. Because
Standard & Poor have threatened to downgrade all of the Eurozone countries, which... should we take any notice, though, because they were completely wrong at the time of 2007, 2008 and 2009? Yeah,
and I would also add that they were very, very confident about all European economies till the crisis. So, look, the markets we have to convince. If we are convincing to the markets, the rating agencies have no influence at all. The problem is that we are not convincing the markets, and that's because we are not decisive in confronting political costs within our own countries.
Have we taken too long? Have the leaders of Europe taken too long to get to grips with this? And if you like, done it a little bite at a time rather than having a sort of a shock and awe type of solution?
Well, in Europe we negotiate a lot. And I think this is part of a huge negotiation both within the countries and between countries. But we have to realize that the cost, the transaction cost, as we economists call it, the cost of negotiating, at sometimes is much more than the benefits of the outcome. And this is one of the cases.
It's been suggested that the European Parliament also sat back, as I mentioned in our yes-no part. A professor has said that the European Parliament sat back and watched the train go by and didn't do enough. And yet, I can remember dozens and dozens of debates about it.
Yes, but the European Parliament institutionally at this moment is the weaker part because it did not have any say in the policies of the various countries that came to the problem. And also didn't have any say in the initial treaties that were obviously not good enough to handle this case. We have to remember that the real problem was the intergovernmental aspect of the Union. ECOFIN and Eurogroup were supposed to never let this thing to happen, and because they wanted to exchange favors between politicians that had elections, they all break the rules.
Will they continue to do that?
And they will. If we have an intergovernmental solution, there will be no solution at all.
OK, well, that takes us out of time, I'm afraid. Θόδωρος Σκυλακάκης, thank you very much indeed for taking part. It's time for me now to say goodbye to you and hello to our next guest.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.